start the discussion by talking about.
Okay, so basically we're starting the discussion by looking at, by describing the characters.
Yeah, we're gonna describe the characters and say how we feel that they're on their own, how they impact the story. So I'm gonna start out with the first character that appears in the story, which is Aegeon, as he is one of the main contenders on who I think is one of the most important characters in the story. He lived in Syracuse, or he was a Syracusan merchant, and he's the father of Antipholus of both Ephesus and the Antipholus of Syracuse. He is like the Antipholus of Syracuse, as he is in search of the missing half of his family. And when he was searching for his missing son, he was caught and he was arrested, and which caused him to be sentenced to death by the Duke, which was Solinus at the beginning of the play. And this caused a large disarray between, or it caused him much amount of sadness upon, when before he was sentenced. It caused him a lot of sadness.
I think that he was really important in the beginning of the story, because if Aegeon wasn't in the beginning of the story, then we wouldn't have known anything about the story of the twins and how they split up. So I think that adding him in the beginning and at the end was a good idea to make the plot.
Yeah.
And have him go away, so it's kind of suspense was where he went.
It kind of set up the whole story. Well, to me it was kind of contrasting to how the story itself, or the play itself, is named Comedy of Errors, but he was in such its depressive state that it was kind of ironic on how much he was depressed.
I feel like the name of the play really makes sense with the play though.
Yeah, because there's a lot of errors in the play.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny. I think it was so funny in the part where it was just him bashing her and stuff. Okay, so Solinus. He was the Duke of Ephesus, and when Aegeon first wanted to go look for his twin sons, he basically there was a travel ban on traveling to different countries or cities or towns. I think it was just anyway, a travel ban on different towns. So but the Duke was pretty moved by his story, so decided to let him go for 1,000 marks, which is just money. And but he sentenced Aegeon to death when he first went, but he wouldn't if he paid a certain amount of money, he wouldn't be sentenced to death, and he went to get his kid and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the play, when the Duke realizes that the twins were there all along, then he was pretty astonished, I guess you could say, and he was moved by it,
and then basically let him.
Yeah, he felt that if he didn't let him live, then it would kind of it'd be really mean to him, because he had just found his new family that had been missing his entire life.
And it would look good on the Duke's part if he let these people do something and then it turned out to be some happy thing.
Yeah.
So that was,
So should I just talk about the Antipholus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
So the Antipholus.
Okay, so should we clarify that we're just talking about the protagonist?
Yeah, right now.
We're not though. We're just kind of talking about
We're basically just talking about the main character.
Yeah, these are the main characters.
And the characters that heavily impacted the play rather than other small ones.
So the Antipholus of Syracuse is the twin brother of the Antipholus of Ephesus, the other one. And so he's the son of Aegeon, who is the main character, and he has been traveling the world with a slave, which is one of the twin brothers, the Dromio slaves. And he's a Dromio of Syracuse, and he's trying to find his long-lost brother and mother. I feel like everybody in the play is just trying to find somebody.
I think that he had the most impact on the story because he's the one who first came into the city that wasn't his, and then he started if he wasn't in the story, there would be no confusion because he's the twin brother that really started all the drama.
So was he was looking for Ephesus, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they.
No, they were.
I feel like they never really set that up. In
They
the
were also. He
story.
was also looking for his like dad because
Yeah.
he had been really wondering who his dad was.
I know. I thought
And where he
the
was.
one of Syracuse was the one who was with his dad, and then the Ephesus was the one. With
No,
None of them were with his dad.
Yeah, they were never like all
were never-
together.
yeah, they
That's
were
what caused the
literally all
confusion.
separate.
Yeah, that's what caused the confusion
Yeah.
was because when like a part of the story was the rising action when Syracuse had been taken into a place like he had been reunited with Adriana, Adriana obviously because they were twins. Syracuse and Ephesius were twins, and since Ephesius was his wife or her wife, so since Ephesius was Adriana's wife, then when she saw Syracuse, no, Ephesius is Adriana's wife.
Why?
Ephesius. What?
No, he was Adriana's husband.
Oh yeah, Adriana's husband. Okay, yeah, Adriana's husband. And so that caused a lot of confusion. That caused a lot of confusion because Adriana thought that her husband was completely just like, yeah, her husband was completely abandoning him.
And the twins, like the Antipholus, like they caused a lot of drama with their slaves too because the slaves didn't know who like their actual master
So
was.
one Antipholus was with one Dromio and the other was with another.
Yeah,
it was like-
the E.
That was what happened in the exposition with the shipwreck.
Yeah, like the E Dromio went with the E like Antipholus.
Yeah.
So like they each had a.
But they also
each
got
had a
mixed up.
surname.
They also got mixed up, and that confusion caused like some parts of the play.
That's why it's called the Comedy of Errors because
yeah,
they kept
exactly,
messing
yeah.
up. Like everyone kept getting confused.
Okay. Do you want to talk about? Who wants to talk about Ephesus?
Well, he's basically just like
The same, but
he's basically
the other
like
one.
the same as Syracuse,
But
except
he
for
just
he's
has-
the wife.
Yeah.
He's the
And-
wife of Adriana.
He's the one who
Husband. He's the husband.
He's the one
Husband
who
of
like
Adriana.
actually lives in like the city where the play takes place, and like he's the one who's married to Adriana, and like that. And then the one of like the biggest things that I remember from the book is when the Antipholus of Syracuse like went to dinner. Syracuse. Okay.
Sauerkraut.
Then so the Antipholus of Syracuse went over to have dinner with Adriana, and then the Antipholus of Ephesus got locked out. Like that's what I remember the most. Like he got locked out and he was really mad, and like remember when he was like literally trying to knock down the door?
Yeah.
Like he was like really mad, and that's what I remember from like his character because he really doesn't have that much like significance. Stop.
Okay, yeah. So I think we're good for characters.
Yeah,
Do you
those
want
are
me
the
to
main
talk about
characters.
Abess? Like,
No. Yeah.
I mean, yes, she's pretty important actually. Even though
Okay,
she's only
so-
appears at the end.
So at the end of the story, so like a group of nuns come in, and they're basically because there was just like a lot of like fighting going on. There was like rioting, a lot of just a big altercation.
Because of all the confusion.
Because everyone was just
All the
really
stuff that's
confused.
going
But this was like before the second set of twins came in. So it's just like people arguing. And then the nuns came in, and there was like the leader of the nuns who was Abess. And she just kind of like started like kind of like calming them down and like kind of giving them like moral support. And then like I think she's really important because she helped them out. And then and then at the end of the story, we found out that it was like Ichion's wife, and I just think that she was really important in the story because she just comes in at the end, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I think yeah.
So I think that's it for really like the main characters. Yeah. So let's go to let's talk about the plot.
Should we kind of talk about Adriana, just like
I mean, she's pretty
like
important.
Adriana and Luciana?
I'll
just
talk
like,
about her. We'll talk about them when we get to our quotes because our quotes both have them. Okay, so let's talk about the plot
Okay,
a little bit. So let's go to the website.
Okay, so
Here, wait, can I talk?
the exposition. Yeah.
Wait,
Are we
let's-
talking about like
No,
the?
we'll just talk about like the exposition.
Do you want me to talk about the climax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll
do
talk about the
exposition.
falling action.
Yeah, just let Maddie lead this shit.
Okay, so now basically
wait,
we're
no,
just
I'm
gonna
talking
talk
about
about the.
exposition.
I know. I'm just.
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
It's like right now we're just gonna explain like the main parts of the story, like in the plot diagram, basically.
Okay. Because these boxes, you can't see stuff. You guys are wrong. We have
Press
to move it.
preview,
Wait, what do you mean?
because then you can see it like a normal.
Okay. Okay. So for the exposition, the play is just kind of set in like Western Europe, in the city of Ephesus, with What?
Ephesians.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Ephesians.
Excuse our pronunciations. We don't know how to
With
pronounce.
the main characters of Aegeon, which is a merchant in Syracuse, and basically they got in a shipwreck in the beginning of the play, and when they were originally all together as a family, with in both of the Dromios were also on that ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Because like
Antipholus.
because
they weren't, 'cause they tied them together.
Aegeon and Abyss
Oh, true.
bought them at the hospital
Yeah.
because the people
yeah,
were
yeah,
poor.
yeah. So
and then
basically
they
at the
all went
hospital,
back. Yeah.
they were having twins. Like Aegeon's family were having twins, and then they realized that there was a poor lady having another set of
Who
twins, so
couldn't
they
afford.
bought them and decided to use them as slaves. And then on the way back, they got into a shipwreck, and then they couldn't really, like, they had to figure out a way to save them. So they tied one of the Antipholus together with one of the Dromios, and vice versa for the other pair. And then
Like Aegeon took the Dromio of Syracuse and the Antipholus, and then Abyss took the other like the other
So
half.
So, yeah, but then they all got separated more, and yeah, so that happened, and then Aegeon went to the Duke to tell him about that, and that's when he felt like, or that's when he wanted to sentence him to death for crossing the border of the town, basically because of the travel ban, and he got out of that sentence. Like, if he could find the twins, then he could pay his way out of it, and out of the death sentence. So that's basically where the exposition comes I don't think we should talk about Rising.
Yeah, I mean, the rising action basically is when.
You could just sum up the rising action.
So basically, the Antipholus of Syracuse is the one who wasn't in the city where Aegeon lives. He goes and visits Ephesus, where the Antipholus of Ephesus obviously lives. Adriana mistakes this Antipholus of Syracuse to be his wife, to be her husband. Sorry.
Her wife.
And so leaving Dromio, of Syracuse at the door, and then shortly after, Antipholus of Ephesus comes home and cannot enter, and is refused to enter his own house. So then he starts to become really mad, obviously, because he's really confused. And
He's
mad
locked
at
out
what's
of his
going
own
on.
house.
Yeah, he's locked out of his own house. And then Antipholus of Syracuse falls in love with Luciana suddenly, who declares a ton of affection for her, and so yeah, who obviously is weirded out because she thinks that that's her brother-in-law, because she thinks that that's actually Antipholus of Ephesus who's married to her sister.
So basically, the climax. This is like what we think the closest to the climax is, because we don't really like see
wasn't
like
really a good, like, sum up
big
of the
like a exactly like a big turning point. So this is like what we think it is, and so basically, the Antipholus of Ephesus wanted to get his wife Adriana like a gold chain like as a gift. So he asked Angelo, the goldsmith, to get to make it for him. So Angelo made it for him, and he made the gold chain for him, and then when he was going to deliver it, he thinks that he went to go see the Antipholus of Ephesus, but he actually meets up with the Antipholus of Syracuse because he just because they're twins, that they look the same, so he didn't know any different, so he gave it to him. And then later, and then he told him that he could pay him back later because he just didn't need it at that time, I guess. And then later, when he went to go get the payment from the Antipholus of Ephesus, he actually went to the correct twin. And so when he went to the correct twin, he was like, "Where's my money?" And then he answered, and he was like, "I never got the necklace, so I'm not going to pay you." So that started a lot of drama. And then after he refused to pay, he basically got arrested for debt because he would kept refusing to pay for the chain because he never got it. So, and that just really was the turning point of the play. Yeah.
Okay, so the conclusion, how the play ends in the resolution.
What we kind of assumed.
Yeah.
This is how it resolved everything.
Yeah.
It was
So everyone finds each other, and everyone who's lost and has conflict with each other, everything is resolved. So all of the relatives on both sides of Ephesus and Syracuse finally reunite, and there's no confusion there's no confusion that like they were related like how like previously. Okay, so then Abbas was revealed to be the long-lost wife of Aegeon, with their sons being the Antipholus of Syracuse and the Antipholus of Ephesus. Okay. So then they reunite, and the Antipholus of Syracuse is now more willing to be affectionate to Luciana, and at her dismay, considering it was certain that he was not married to Adriana, who was the Antipholus of Ephesus' wife. The whole family was reunited, and it concludes with Abbas beginning to reveal to everyone the start of this story, along with the fate,
like the shipwreck and like how all that happened. So.
The fateful end.
It was actually pretty happy. I think it went from like
a happy ending.
Yeah, it was like completely depressing. Like actually,
it started like super depressing, and then everything became like really confusing and like kind of funny, and then it all ended up like really happy.
Yeah, I feel like the funny stuff in the play was like really weird humor. It was like
I liked it because like at first I was like,
how
is this funny? But then I was like, they're being so rude to each other, but like in a way that was like so.
They were like trashing
as tall
each
as she
other.
is wide, and like I thought that was so funny.
Like they were like trashing each other, and like because it's in Shakespeare, like it's kind of like adult.
It was
humor.
funny in Old English. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Alright, Maddie.
that's pretty much it for the resolution. I mean,
I thought it was kind of, I feel like they just summed it up so fast at the end.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of
Everything
like
went
all
together
this stuff
really
yeah, it was
happened,
literally like a puzzle.
and then it was like
wrapped
they were
up.
happy. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
I feel like everything came like back really fast together when the twins showed up, and then when they found out
Well, because
that.
I think really all that had to happen was Aegeon was like, you guys are my kids, let's go.
True.
I mean, honestly, that's all that had to happen. They know they were twins because they looked exactly alike.
Yeah, it was like they were standing
Everyone
across
did
each other.
Aegeon end up taking the Dromios too? Like,
I mean,
did they all like
Probably.
go back?
I
so.
think they all. I'm pretty sure
You think
they all
they went
like.
back to like?
I'm pretty sure they all just
where else would they
reunited.
go?
I'm pretty sure they all reunited.
Because
Well,
I
yeah,
wish
because,
they
like, they
also
were
summed up
different.
like where they went. Like if they all just like started living together in another
Yeah.
place, like what they did. Like I want to know more.
I'm
like
pretty
how
sure
they did
that's.
stuff
I'm pretty
and
sure that's what
stuff.
happened.
Yeah.
Because like it was so weird how the falling action was like so chaotic, and then like
Yeah.
Best was like
and
Best
everyone
was
thought
like trying
that
to
they
like
were
get,
like literally like they thought that it had to do with like witchcraft. Like they
Yeah.
literally thought that.
Yeah, they Best thought that like Antipholus and Theseus needed to be like exercised, and he was like super mad. He wasn't like he obviously was like saying he wasn't crazy or anything. And then like it was just like really chaotic, and then like all of a sudden all of them just like started to go together at the very end, which I thought was, I mean, it was a good ending. I feel like, but yeah.
Okay, do we want to talk about like our favorite quotes that we picked?
Can somebody pull up the?
I'll pull up a timer
I have it here.
so we can like keep track if you want.
I mean, we can just use that as well.
Yeah, we can just like look at the time.
Or we'll just talk and then. Okay.
So,
Are we
Jack,
picking? Are we picking one
Pick
quote
one
or
quote.
two quotes?
Pick one.
One
Because it
quote?
says one. Here, wait, hold on.
yeah.
So,
It's just one, we're doing one quote.
so Jack, I'll ask you the questions on
No,
the
no, no.
protocol. I know, but like,
Okay.
just so we're actually like 100% following the protocol. So just read what struck
Okay,
you.
so my quote, the quote that struck me the most was Aegeon's quote in Act 1, Scene 1, line 118, when he said, when he was talking to, I'm pretty sure he was talking to the Duke about what all the struggles and everything that obviously that was sad that we talked about before in his life. He said, "Thus that you've heard me severed from my bliss, that my misfortunes was my life prolonged, that by misfortunes my life was prolonged to tell sad stories of my own mishaps." And to me, this struck me because it shows Eugene's complete and like his disarray of all this suffering that occurs in the beginning of the play, as he feels like he's only living to tell sad stories about all the terrible things that have happened in his life. And to me, it just feels like he just doesn't want to even like live anymore because of how bad the suffering is, and that there's no point in living. And I think that I mean, for me, if that had happened, I obviously agree with that he is in the right spot to like be doing this, because he lost like his twins and his life in a shipwreck, which is like extreme. It's like pretty rare for that to happen. And he tried to find them, was arrested for it, and then was condemned to death with like no fines to pay for it. So it was literally like the worst possible situation. And so I agree that he like is right to feel that way. I think this is very important though because it's a strong indicator of motivation. How he has no motivation at all. As he's trying to find his lost kids from a shipwreck, and it probably for him he just feels like his life is just prolonged so that he can further tell more people, and it just feels terrible for him. That's how it shows like the more context of his character.
I think that part of the play was important. Like I thought it was good, and it was sad, but I still think it was really important.
I think it was good,
Oh, yeah,
how
it's
determined he was. He could have easily given up and been like, oh, like, whatever.
Yeah, but like he's been how long? He said he's been like doing it for like what 8 summers or something like that. He said something about like discovering or going around traveling for like 8 summers. Like that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Looking for your children.
Do you have any like questions about the book?
Something I wrote down and saw that I feel like could be raised are like I wonder if the twins feel the exact same way about their dad. Like I wonder
If they were curious about
if they still feel like the suffering kind of the sadness, or if they kind of just like forgot because they're new, kind of pretty like semi-prosperous lives.
I wonder if they were like ever like I wonder if they're like they were happier in their past life than their now life. Like I bet the Antipholus were happier, but
Like,
the
what do you
Romeos
mean?
are now like after now being with Aegeon. Like I wonder if their life before they found him was better,
Oh, true.
or like after. I bet for the Dromios it was better, but for the Antipholus it was better before. Because Dromios, I mean, they were slaves, and now they're not going to be anymore, probably.
Well, no, but that, I
Maybe.
still
They might
think
still be slaves,
I
though.
still think that they're still going to be slaves because like they bought them for the sole purpose of them being slaves to their children.
Yeah.
Like they're not slaves, more like servants.
Yeah.
Like I still think that they're still going to be their servants because like in the time of the play, like it was really normal to have like servants like that. So I still think that they were gonna, like have the servants basically.
So, is there any issues that it raises for you?
I think, well, I mean, obviously we already found out that this happened, but like the Duke, I feel like he kind of could have given him more of a pardon, like because of all that happened.
I
Because it
feel
was
like
like
it was
really,
also like back then,
Yeah.
like things were strict about that.
yeah. I mean, like it was so unlikely that some random guy was gonna go ask other people for money, and then they were gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll just.
He
I'll give you
wasn't
this, even
wealthy,
though-
right?
No, he was like poor.
No, that's why they were.
Like
gonna,
they said that he couldn't even raise like 100 marks. Like that's how poor. he
Yeah,
was.
exactly. And so I thought that it was kind of like, it wasn't neat. It was like literally like it was almost no chance of them looking at him. Because like he was so poor and like no one even knew who he was. So I kind of felt like to me that it was an issue that people didn't help him with, like, or that the dude didn't help him with other people.
Okay, what do you wonder about in relation to
I wonder. Well, when I saw this quote, I was wondering how the play could possibly be funny because of like the complete. It was like complete, just like depression and
So it was
sadness.
just the beginning though.
Yeah, I mean it was in the beginning, but I was wondering when I saw this how the play was gonna would turn out because it felt like there was like no hope, and so obviously it turns out to be the opposite. But
Alright.
that's what I thought. So.
Alright, I'm gonna start on mine. So my quote,
Do you want me to ask you like the question?
yeah, I'm just gonna read the quote first. So actually, yeah, just ask the question.
Or do you guys have any like extra stuff that you want to say about mom?
I think we covered it like well.
I think, I just think that that quote is really important because without that quote, we really wouldn't know any backstory of the people.
Or like how Eugene feels.
Yeah. So
Just read the question.
the question is, like, just describe why the quote struck you. Like,
so
that's the
yeah.
first one.
So mine is Adriana, and Adriana is actually like the wife of Antipholus of Ephesus and the sister of Luciana, who Maddie will be talking about. And the quote was, Act 2, Scene 1, lines 32 through 37. Patience unmoved, no marvel though she pause. They can be meek that have no other cause. A wretched soul bruised with adversity. We bid be quiet when we hear it cry, for we were burdened with like weight of pain. As much or more we should ourselves complain. And I feel like that's more than just like people kept getting mad at her because she was like whining. But I don't think that she was like complaining as much as like I think she was genuinely like hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like she seems to like really be suffering about it. And the suffering isn't like physical pain, like bawling her eyes out and like just being physically unstable. I think like she has to be quiet and bear it because I also think that back then women had to kind of like take stuff, you know, because like we can't be all like I don't know. It's just like we can't show our emotions back then. Like that just
Took
wasn't
an
a
effort
thing.
too.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, the whole thing. It's just like it's a really big deal. So yeah. And
This is after she found out like everything that was happening with Syracuse. Was it like Mexico and Syracuse?
yeah,
or
it was just after all the twin things. I mean, it was Act 2. That was pretty brilliant.
Okay.
Though Adriana herself seems to see little difference between physical and emotional pain, she seems to recognize that society dictates that emotional pain is less valid, and thus women should bear emotional wounds in silence. And I feel like that's just saying like,
They should let her suffer.
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, once again, like back then, women had to take stuff a lot. You know, like if their husband was rude to them, like,
Women
they just
were
had to be
treated
like, oh, whatever.
like very poorly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they were definitely
Like, no
seen
respect and
as
stuff.
they were seen as like a lot lower than men.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like it's saying like she should bear emotional wounds in silence, and that's just like don't express your emotions because then you'll seem weak. Like don't do it, you know? Because people already think lowly of you, so like they don't want to seem more weak. Alright, what's next question?
You want me to? Oh, the next question. The next question is: do you agree with the quote?
I mean, I don't think there's much to like agree or disagree with in this, but I feel like
Because
I can understand where she's
Yeah, you
coming
can
from.
definitely understand.
You know, because like I mean, I've obviously like been in pain and like I feel like I can't like show it and like tell people that.
Yeah.
It's like I understand where she's coming from and like and the fact that she doesn't want to seem weak about
But
it.
it's like kind of normal. So like, I mean, not for us obviously in this age. But
Yeah, I don't think it was really a big deal back then. Like, I don't know, but I think that she is just so. I think she's like emotionally numb by it.
Yeah.
You know, like she's so hurt by it that she feels like there's just nothing she can do about it, and it's just like pointless. You know. So yeah.
So the next question is: what questions does she have about? Like, what questions do you have about the quote?
Like how long it took her to get better, you know, or like what she used to kind
Or
of
what
like
even
cope
caused
with
her?
it. Yeah, well, I mean, it was the twins. It was just knowing the pain of the twins not being there, and like they probably feel like they were at fault because of it, you know.
Or
because
she
of
had
the
like a bad past, maybe
Yeah.
with her family.
But yeah, like I wonder how she like got over it, because I mean, this happened and then they just kind of moved on, you know,
Yeah.
like it wasn't a big deal at all. And
They
then she
made it
was
seem like
fine.
it was nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So.
What issues does it raise for her? Like, what issue does it raise for any issues?
I mean, I just think that it wasn't super relevant to the play, you know? Like, it definitely,
Yeah, it kind of
Like-
expresses her character.
yeah, for sure, because I don't think she was, like, the most relevant. Like, she definitely had a few parts where she needed to be there, but just someone needed to express the pain, and I don't think, once again, back then, like, Ijeon was allowed to express the pain. So, yeah, I don't think that she...
The whole thing about like the women being like not as empowered as the men, like that's when it's like brought out with her character.
Yeah.
That's something that's like really good.
Yeah,
What do you wonder now in relation to the quote?
I mean, I think we kind of already said that with, like, the question.
Who wants to go next?
Who's next?
And also, this kind of like just shows the complete. It's kind of a theme. Like it's like one theme of like suffering in the play. Like from like those back to back quotes. It's just like complete like
Suffering. That kind of like leads into my quote because my quote's like really about suffering, and so like I can kind of give you some like backstory about it. It's in Act 2, Scene 1. So basically, Adriana is telling the Dromio, who is like the servant of the Antipholus of Ephesus. Adriana is like literally like forcing him to go and get, you know, like his master, like the Antipholus of Ephesus. And then Dromio just kind of like says something because the line before it, Adriana goes, "Hence prating peasant, fetch thy master home." So he's basically saying, "Go get my husband," like you peasant, basically. And so the quote that I picked was, "Am I so round with you as with me like a football? You do spurn me thus. You spurn me hence, and he will spurn me hither. If I last in the service, you must cast me in leather." And I really thought that this quote was like really important. I thought that it shows that I thought that it was really important because in the play they really show how they really mistreat the servants, and I think that like this is the first time that any of the servants really spoke out, and he's basically saying that he's used to getting treated very poorly, but he's like he kind of like doesn't understand why he's getting treated so poorly. And
Yeah.
he kind of wishes that he didn't, but he's not like that. He could get like wished better, basically. So
Was that Dromio or Syracuse?
It was Dromio.
Or that was the Dromio of Syracuse?
Of Ephesus.
Oh yeah, because he definitely got treated worse.
And so he was just treated so poorly. And so this is like the first time he basically felt trapped.
I think the society of Ephesians throughout the play, like the theme, not the theme, but just like the general mood of Ephesians was more like mellow, you know? Like I don't think it was as happy, I guess you could say, as Syracuse. So
And whenever he was mad, you couldn't mess like Dromio learned that you couldn't mess with him at all because if you did, he would get like beaten. So that's,
and then to like I'll just start like answering the questions. Like I really agree with what he's trying to say. He's like, I don't understand why I'm getting treated so poorly. Like obviously like he should know his place obviously in society because he is a servant, but like she literally called him like a peasant and like forced him to go do stuff, and it's like is really mean to him. So like I agree with him kind of standing up for himself, kind of like saying like I don't know why you're doing this to me, basically.
it's kind of isolation too. He probably feels like he can't actually have like a legitimate like relationship with anyone that he meets that is around the people that he has to think or that he has to like honestly serve.
Any issues? I just think that like the Dromio should just get treated better than what they do. And then I wonder what it would be like, if like the positions were switched, like if the Dromio was actually like the anti-force and how it'd be different. That's just basically, like what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
And then, Maddie, what's your quote?
Okay, so my quote is, so this is Luciana speaking. She says, "Why call me?" Oh, right. So Luciana is Adriana's unmarried sister, and the woman, the woman that is like with like the Antipholus of Syracuse, and so Luciana says, "Why call me love? Call me sister." So, and then Antipholus of Syracuse says, "Thy sister's sister." Then Luciana says, "That's my sister," and then he says, "No, it is thyself, my own self, better part," which is scene. I think the scene comes first, right? Yeah.
No,
Yes.
it's Act.
So Acts 3, Scene 2, lines 62 through 66. So this quote is talking about like the reflection on marriage and family, which is like a theme, obviously, like family, the importance of family, and like between everybody. So Luciana identifies with her sister Adriana's family, but Antipholus of Syracuse notes that by accepting him as a husband, Luciana would be becoming part of him, like, and part of their family, and accepting like that into the family, like with marriage. So the question is whether they must betray one's family love for the possibility of like romantic love, which is like the marriage, and giving up family for the creation of like more family, like for accepting more family into the marriage. So I agree with this quote because I feel like if you're in a family and you're getting married, like you're obviously going to want to accept the person who's coming into your family and call them your sister, like Luciana is doing. And I believe that there's no like betrayal, like they were saying that the Antipholus of Syracuse was like thinking of like betrayal, and I don't think that like is betrayal like is even in this quote at all. And so I think that marriage brings two complete strangers together, which is like a stranger. I think that the Antipholus of Syracuse is thinking is like to Adriana, like you're not, you're a stranger, like, and the thing is like two strangers coming together for marriage, and then like marriage makes like family. So I feel like like being accepting and saying like that's your sister's, like that's like him trying to bring the family together and stuff. So that's just like talking about like the importance of like family and like love and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Are you good?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Do we want to just like summarize anything?
I think we're good. I mean, we don't.
I mean,
really
we
hit
could
everything.
look for something.
We've talked about the plot. We talked about the
I
characters.
feel like I was so redundant with
There
this.
was
Quotes.
there were some characters that like they were like obviously like really minor characters.
I mean, I don't think we really need to talk about the minor characters.
Yeah, there wasn't really any that were important.
All right, so we're good.
Bye, guys.